Previously on The Guitar Geek.
Look who it is! Lots of lovely guitars, room of bass guitar.
Yeah, so I went to visit Andertons, and in part one we did the shop tour. This, part two, Lee Anderton and I sat down, we talked budget guitars, specifically East Coast guitars, and Lee dropped some absolute nuggets of gold. Enjoy.
East Coast in itself
Yeah.
is an own brand range of guitars, not dissimilar to, all familiar styles. I claim no credit for designing them or anything like that. But it goes back maybe 5 or 6 years where we began to realize that the entry-level guitars that we sold by famous brands like Squier and Yamaha and stuff, the gap between what they would cost somebody who wanted to learn to play guitar and what our competitors were, the bigger competitors were doing with their own brands, and I'm talking about competitors like Amazon or Thomann or whatever like that. The gap was just getting, it was almost, you could have one of their starter guitar packs for £99, and our offering from Squier or Yamaha would be £199.
Right.
And it was like, this is mad, if you're a parent that isn't sure how long your kids are going to stick to this, I can understand the attraction of a £99 guitar pack. So I bought some, and again, I'm not going to name
So you bought some
names.
starter packs?
I bought some £99 starter packs.
Some of the big ones, okay, yeah.
And I was just like, these are awful. These are just...
And what do you get in a starter pack? You get a guitar, an amp, a cable, a strap, a pick?
Probably, yeah, that kind of vibe. So there were no gig bags or stands or anything like that. But the things that the guitars were probably no worse than the kind of guitars that I learned to play on when I was a sort of kid. But you can do so much better now out of the Far East. Yeah. And the amps were awful. The amps were the ones that were like this thick. So, and just
big enough for the speaker.
Yeah, full on 𝗬𝗦𝗢𝗪𝗓 kind of stuff. And I'd had some experience of manufacturing in the Far East through the whole Chapman thing, admittedly not down at this sort of price point, but I knew there were some big factories out there that, if you hit the minimum order quantity would basically put, you had a catalogue of designs and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at these guitars and I was going, it was mad how much better I could make the guitar relative to these £99 ones by just saying to the factory, what if we just spend $5 more? So not $50 more, $100 more, something that would really inflate the retail price. What if we just spent $5 more? So we're only really maybe putting the price of the guitar up by 10 or 20 quid after it's gone through all the various, import processes and stuff.
And what are the differences do you get there? Do you get better hardware, or do you get more attention to detail, or do you get more exciting colours?
It's mainly, I would say, it was the attention to detail. So, necks, so this is the cheapest guitar. This is £109, just for the guitar on its own.
£109?
Yeah, so we're not talking packs yet or anything like that. And that's an example of, again, I would imagine the cost price on that is probably only, $5 to $10 more than the guitar that comes in the pack for £99. But it's like twice as good. It's not like a bit better. And we were talking about this before, this diminishing returns. This does not apply when you start spending £500 or £1,000 on a guitar. Another $5 doesn't get you anything really, a different strap button or something. Yeah. But at this price point, $5 is, relative to the cost of building the guitar, it's a fair percentage. Anyway, so and in fairness, I should say as well, back at the time, the minimum order quantities to try and do your own brand type thing were much bigger than anything Andertons could realistically afford to do. So we did there were 3 British retailers at the time we'd sort of gone, look, shall we all just combine and then we can hit the minimum order quantities. So actually East Coast was, it probably doesn't matter if I say their brand. So PMT, East Coast was a brand that they'd used for, 20 odd years or something like that. But when we agreed to do the things together, everything changed. It was all new factories, all new specs, all everything. So we just went, you know what? It's like trying to choose a band name, isn't it? It's just like, oh my goodness me, it was like, fine, East Coast, it sounds nice, rolls off the tongue, off you go. And then ironically, PMT actually changed hands about 2 years into the East Coast project.
And when was this? This was
2019, something like that. So we've been doing East Coast probably since about 2017, something like that. 2019, I think they changed hands, and the new owners went, actually, we'd rather do our own thing. So bizarrely, the people who actually came up with the East Coast brand are now no longer involved. Then actually, for the last 2 or 3 years, Andertons and 𝗬𝗢𝗪𝗪, who were the other original retailer, are doing enough East Coast independently now that we all just do our own thing with it. So you'll see some models in colours that Andertons want to do that they don't, and vice versa. But anyway, that is called the somewhat unromantically named ST1. Wonder if you can guess why. And it's the entry point. There is a T1. Guess what that is? Similar kind of build quality, but obviously T-style, same sort of dough. And then, you know, there's an HSS version for another $10, £10. I'm very Americanized when I talk about pricing, and I feel like I shouldn't be.
Yeah, me too. I try to be international, but I get pulled up on it a lot, sorry.
And we kind of have guitars like the yellow one there that's designed to be a bit more contemporary.
Do you want to hold that one for a second?
Again, lots of different
colours.
That's
considerably lighter, so...
That's one of those things, to be honest with you.
Again,
at this price point, it is a little bit like it weighs however much that piece of wood weighs that happened to get used on that piece of guitar. You know, we're not the only thing that we're probably specifying on this is it is a Canadian maple neck and it is a rosewood board. The origins of the body are some FSC approved hardwood. Anyway, so it's upgraded trem system, so 2-point trem system. We haven't got the trem arm on there at the moment. Yeah, no coil taps, I don't think, on that. But that's still like a £150 guitar.
149, pretty close.
Then, of course, you know, you've got your... See if you can guess. If that's an ST1 and the other one's a T1, see if you can guess what that might be called model number-wise.
Could it be L for Lee?
Maybe.
And a P just for...
We're not even allowed to go there. It's just L1.
L1?
Yeah.
Just L1?
Yeah. As soon as if you put the P in, you might upset somebody. We did a baritone on a T-style. We have
this is the one I've got to pick up. Let's get excited about guitars for a moment.
There's semi-acoustics. There's a whole, what we've not even looked at, there's a whole range of amazing traditional acoustic guitars, which start from £79. In fact, lower again if you go nylon string. But all with this ethos, and this I suppose takes me back to the original point, with this ethos that what I wanted to try and do was say to the customers out there, look, you could go and buy the £99 one if you wanted to, but we're not going to sell it to you because it's beneath what I consider the right instrument to try and set someone off on their guitar playing journey.
Do you still offer that as Andertons? Do you still offer the cheaper? So this is now the cheapest way to get into guitar?
Commercially speaking, we probably should. Mm-hmm. But that's not the point for me of selling the first guitar. You know, look, I'm not even going to... I don't even think it's going to come as any great surprise. If we sell you this guitar with an amplifier and it's I think it's £129 is the cheapest pack that we do with this, right? Andertons is maybe making 20 quid. I don't know, 25 quid, right? Nobody's retiring on selling 100 of these and making £25 on each one. Being completely honest with you there, right? So the objective here is for you to actually learn to play, stick with it, and then over the course of your 50-year guitar playing lifestyle, buy all your stuff from Andertons, you know, and then being brutally commercially honest about it, that's how I'll retire, right? So I want every guitar player, budding guitar player, to start on an instrument that gives them the best chance of getting through that first 6 months where learning is difficult, fingers are sore, you know, and having a guitar that won't stay in tune, has bad fret edges, so you know it's uncomfortable to play, sounds or looks crappy. It's like, and I just knew that for literally not much more, another $5 or $10 with that factory, I can get a guitar that ends up being not that much more expensive, you know, 20, 30 pounds more expensive than the rubbish one. And, you know, and I'm convinced that this is a better start on your journey. You should try one. I mean,
we haven't talked about the amp really.
Yeah.
So you did before we started this video, when we came into the subject, you mentioned the very shallow amps, of which I've played. But this, what you've got here, which is £79, reminds me very much of my first amplifier, the Squier SP10, I think it was.
Well, this is a slightly bigger amp than an SP10. So actually the one we do below this one is probably more like an SP10. So this is 15 watts with an 8-inch speaker, I think, and reverb. Anybody that follows the Andertons YouTube channel will know that amps with no reverb are, for me, the most soulless, soul-destroying, horrible sounding thing ever. Now, in fairness, this particular, when we first started doing this is sort of pre all the inflationary kind of COVID rises have got. This would have been our entry point amplifier,
right?
And you would have been able to get this in a guitar pack for sort of sub £150. Last couple of years, we're not able to hit the price with this amp now on a guitar pack for less than £179. So we've introduced a 10 watt version of this, which, if I'm honest with you, is not as good as I would like it to be. You know, it has shades of that, not great, but it's still full depth, mains powered. It's okay.
And they look sturdy as well, because as a father, you know, it's going to get kicked down the stairs.
We've not decided to do anything with modelling or this is a super tried and tested. This kind of amplifier with this kind of technology has been sold forever.
Yeah.
The returns rate on these due to, you know, faults or whatever is negligible, like next to zero. So our packs now with this guitar and this guitar's baby brother are back down to that 129 point. So and again, we're really championing this idea of like, look, just don't go down the £99 route all in.
Yeah.
Just like another 30 quid. I mean, in fairness, you'd have to buy it from Andertons. You could, like, any 130, 140 pound pack is going to be a lot better than the £99 one. So we made a very conscious decision to go, look, this is our starting point. I would love for everybody to start with this amplifier, but you're up to the 179 as a sort of a starting point. In fairness, you get loads of stuff with it. So you do get, here, have a cable.
I'll have a cable, thank you very much.
I have to refer to the,
I shall plug it in.
Oracle here. Did we plug this into the mains?
Let's find out. What we haven't done.
We did.
What we haven't done is tuned anything. We've taken them straight from the shop. But I would argue that that's in tune.
So the 179 packs are, you do get your stand and your gig bag, as well as strap and picks and cable and all that kind of stuff. The 129 pack, that is really us trying to just get in with a price that's as affordable as possible. So that's the same guitar in a choice of colours, the smaller amp, and just the cable and the strap and the picks. So no bag and no stand. But I mean, it's 129, man. It's crazy. I took my family out to a pub for lunch on Sunday. It cost me 150 quid.
We were also talking about the lessons themselves, how much they cost. 270, did you say?
Well, my daughter, when she was a bit younger, I obviously vicariously attempt to live my life through my children, as we all do. So she played guitar for 6 months because I forced her to. But yeah, I got her a term of lessons, one-to-one lessons at her school, only half-an-hour lessons. But I think a term of lessons was 200 quid. You know, which is not. So again, I'm going to massive shout out to everybody who's doing free online tuition, but especially Justin Sanderco at justinguitar.com, because that's where I would go to learn now if I was wanting to learn. I still
go there and I still pick up stuff, and I'm amazed at what he can do for.
And it is like 99% of what he does is free, right?
Yeah.
In fact, that's one of the things we do sell as an optional extra with all of these are his Learn to Play books.
They're fantastic.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, so you've gone in the L1. That's probably the most expensive of the East Coast range. I
because we've got a
and again, I had a choice there. I could have done a bolt-on neck, slab body. You know, I could have done a cheaper Les Paul, excuse me. I could have done a cheaper L style copy, because these aren't copies at all, they're all original. No, I could have done a cheaper style by really losing some, but those features, the arch top, the maple veneer, the
they're
set
iconic,
neck,
mate.
the rosewood board.
You could have gone two knobs.
Yeah.
What you've done here is offered a real alternative.
And actually, it's worked quite well because Epiphone themselves, who make amazing guitars, are kind of exiting the really low price market. So Epiphone don't really want to do £200 guitars anymore. They want their brand to be elevated and perceived as more premium, and so they're just going, do you know what, let's just stop making the cheaper ones, let's just make better, more expensive guitars. So actually, this style of 𝗦𝗨𝗢𝗪 guitar is fine. It's not really.
And this is going to set you back $199, so it is the most expensive, as you said.
I think there's a semi-acoustic that might be another 20 quid dearer than that as well. I should say we've priced the whole East Coast range so that the maximum savings are on the packs rather than the individual.
Yeah, I was trying to work out the $129 for that and the amp. So if you buy it individually, it's going to cost you more, but as a pack, it's...
Yeah, so you're probably saving between 10 and 20% if you buy it as a pack rather than individually. And it's intentionally, I suppose, priced like that because the packs are obviously what most people want to buy. But yeah, I mean, let's look. We got 2 channels.
Yep, go on.
And of course, the magic reverb, so you get to sound good. Might need a day of string stretching and tuning.
There's a tuner just over on that table behind you. Do
you know what's a good plan? Do we give a tuner away in the pack?
That was my next question. If you
don't even know, we should. Yeah,
you should.
Or again, you've got loads of apps that have free guitar tuners. But let's have a little look. Do we give a? We do. Even on the cheapest ones.
So for $129, you also get a tuner.
You get a clip-on tuner as well. So there you are.
That's phenomenal. Well, let's see what this guitar sounds like and this amp when it's in tune. But this is directly out the store. What I really like, Lee, is that you and I just went to the store, grabbed a couple, and came into this room.
One of the things that we do, and again we kind of built into the price of the East Coast guitars, is they do all get unboxed on arrival here. It's quite a busy time because we'll get these in hits of 600 or 700 at a time or whatever. From the not all of that style, but and then of course our QC team, we've got 4 or 5 guys who basically that's their job, is that they'll inspect. So hopefully nothing slips through the cracks. So every East Coast guitar should come with a decent neck, decent frets, and anything that hasn't got that will be stripped out and go through a separate process, if you like, before it can be sold, or if it can't be sold, then it's not sold. So we're trying to avoid that crappy experience of my first guitar being awful.
Strings like that.
Yeah, but we're not talking about spending. The guys aren't doing like an hour-long setup on them. It's
just getting it in so someone can make some music with it.
And if this is if you're looking at a new guitar, any steel string guitar with fresh strings on it is going to take a few tune-ups before it'll stay.
Regardless of how much money you spend.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the guitar's fault. It's the new strings, isn't it? That's all it is. So look, look, if you want to...
Does that have a gain channel?
Of course,
get a little bit of rockness?
He says, looking for it. Where is...
There's a little knob, little grey knob.
We are.
What more do you want?
Literally, this is... There's always, for me, a certain... Look, I'm living the dream, right? My dad and granddad opened a music store. All I've done my whole life is hang around the music store. Then I got to work there. Then I got to manage the guitar department. Then I got to run the whole thing. It's like... And I'm just a guitar... People will know I'm just a I just like guitars. You know, I'm not a failed ex-professional musician that didn't know what else to do. Half of me wishes I had the opportunity to do that, but all I've ever done is work in a guitar store my whole life. And I know the profound impact that playing the guitar has had on me through, you know, the confidence it gave me as a teenager, the friends I've made, the experiences I've had of just doing gigs. I think the biggest gig I've probably ever done is in front of 200 people, you know, so I'm not a professional like 𝗦𝗡𝗨𝗪 or anything like that, you know. I can't even imagine what an adrenaline rush that must be. But I know how profound a positive impact playing the guitar had on me. And I still, every time I see, I don't know what it is about red guitars. It's something about red guitars. I still get a weird spine-tingling sensation every time, and it happens obviously loads at Christmas, where the kid coming in, you know, it's great now because there's probably just as many girls as boys now coming in to buy their guitars at Christmas, and the parents are with them, and they're like, "Which color do you want?" "Oh, can I?" And it's like, can we just unbox it before we make sure it's all right? And so you just have this magical moment where the cardboard comes off and the cellophane comes out, and this like moment, and the kids' eyes have lit up, and you're literally sitting there going, if you just practice a little bit, you know, put some effort in for the first 6 months, this will change your life.
Yeah.
You know, and it's even now I can feel myself going like, and it's just a wonderful thing to feel like we can be part of that journey, you know. And I said, look, I wish everybody in the world bought their guitars from Andertons, and I know, of course, they obviously won't. You know, I don't know, our market share will be minuscule, but it should be the same, and every guitar store should feel that same sense of responsibility. You know, you're doing a really important, magical thing. Yes, you're not putting tons of money in the till at that point. You're just 120 quid or whatever like that. But, you know, how you handle that, what you sell that person, how you treat that person in the store that is going to play a role as to whether or not they decide to stick at this.
I think the word you hit on there was responsibility.
Yeah.
It's such a pressure. Like, I've taught guitar in the past, and I gave up because I felt I wasn't the guitar teacher these pupils needed.
Yeah.
For various reasons. But it's the responsibility of thinking, as you said, something big could be happening right now. And as just showing someone how to play a riff or something on a guitar that works, and seeing that light and that fire inside them.
Yeah.
And I have to say that I came into the store this morning, and all the staff were really, really pleasant to everybody there.
That's good.
And maybe they know I'm coming, but they were very nice to me. But I could just see everyone was there having a good time and spreading a positive vibe.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that just on that front, it's small things, right? So under the whole time that I've sort of been in charge at Andertons, we've never paid an individual commission to a sales staff. It's the job is bigger than just close the sale. You know, the job is create customers for life. Sounds a bit corny like that, but so the guys, as you're walking in, there's no sense that the guy's going, oh, if I don't sell this guy something, and I'm not going to get paid today, or I'm not. It's like, it's really not. You know, it makes no difference to them whether you buy something, look around for 3 hours and don't buy something. You know, all they've got to do is make sure that you've had a great experience in the store and you haven't stolen anything. That's basically he
was looking at my backpack.
Yeah,
So.
you know, but beyond that, so you know, so you should get just as much of a smile if you're bringing something back as if you're buying something.
Sure.
Because it doesn't make any difference to them. All they've got to do is make sure you're happy. So.
Well, I applaud you and the Andertons team for bringing these guitars to life.
Yeah. Try the. I mean,
Is that going to?
Only because I just think it's remarkable what you can get for this kind of dough, you know, or the yellow one because it matches your eyes.
Thank you. So let's pop that back in.
Headphone socket, of course, as a standard. Instant Eric Clapton. I mean, look, reverb is like, who wouldn't? It should be the law. Guitar amps shouldn't be allowed without reverb.
Sorry, talking then. You've handed me a guitar, I'm going to have to play it. I'm not going to let you put words in my mouth, but I will say that the playing experience on this is absolutely brilliant. Everything Lee said that he's aimed to do, assuming that these have not been planted in the shop, which I doubt very much. They've come through the cold as well, so we haven't tuned that one.
Look, I don't want to make ridiculous claims like, it's the best guitar you can buy, or that, this guitar is not designed to do anything other than get you through that, probably the hardest part of learning to play the guitar. It's just getting you through that first bit. And, I'm not saying that this guitar will fall apart somehow after 18 months, but I'm sure inevitably once you hit that 18-month, 2-year point, you're going to want something else. You're going to be shopping higher up the range, I'm sure. I say that, what? We get quite some of the more unusual models like the baritone and the HM1 there. We do see those going to people that perhaps want to do a mod project or something like that.
I would take that. And as a baritone, the things that are important, Lee, are the tuning stability, the neck feel, and is everything working? And to just quickly review this guitar,
yes, please
that
do.
switch is a very nice feeling switch, which sometimes they can snap off on these lower price models.
See, that's the kind of thing. Again, we talk about that. What does that extra $5 buy you?
Right.
Like 25 cents will buy you a better switch.
This is what I complain about. When
it's like,
some brands do that.
And I think, again, if you're in the mentality of going, well, we're going to make 50,000 of these, so actually if I can save 25 cents on every single one, I'm going to save, what is that, 15,000, whatever. I understand, I get that, but that's not, we're not at that volume level. And so those considerations aren't important to us. What's important to us, it's the reverse of that. If I spend 25 cents more, can I really feel like I've improved this guitar? So different mindset. Again, if you're a brand that's making 50,000 of these guitars a year, I do get that. We're probably making 1,000 of these guitars a year. Whatever. So it's a different mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure. Again, I think the challenge for Andertons over the next 2 or 3 years is to keep working on the East Coast brand and sort of go, what next? How can we make other improvements? We've just, we are looking at some guitars from the same factory as these guys, which are higher spec. So they're at the moment, I'm allowed to say this? I probably will. So there's a brand that you'll see appear in Andertons just before Christmas called Solo King. Mm-hmm. And it's the same factory as these, but it is their kind of like, what if we start putting branded pickups and better tops? And so at the moment we're going, well, let's try that. Maybe we'll leave it as Solo King. Maybe we'll go back and say, could we make some tweaks and make it part of a higher end East Coast range or whatever? But these are guitars that are going to be where this range finishes at sort of 250. That range will start and go up to maybe 400. We might leave it. I quite like the name Solo King, as a but I don't imagine there's a great deal of information on and it's certainly not a brand you see, it's literally just another, it's the factory's own brand, if you like, or for that style of guitar. I think we might have got headless guitars coming in there. I can't remember, but it's that sort of much more contemporary vibe, but same kind of concept really, which is like, you're not pricing the range to pay for some huge marketing effort, artists, blah, blah, blah. You're just literally going, how much does the guitar cost to build? That's the price, which is, I guess that's where all these own brand kind of things offer great value.
Absolutely.
Anyway, look, I've gabbled on.
Well,
Thank you so
I've enjoyed
much for taking an interest.
No, I really am. And I just want to make it clear to the people that might think this, that Lee's not asked me to do this. I asked Lee if we could do this because so many of you have asked me to take a look at these guitars. And if you're thinking about buying one, just go and do it. It's absolutely phenomenal what you guys at Andertons are doing for future guitar players and guitar players that might want just something to knock around with on the weekend. I would happily play that. Happily.
Well, and can I just say as well, I know that Andertons probably does sort of, what's the right word? We do keep ourselves sort of slightly removed from the sort of, this sort of the YouTube influencer community. And some of that is just sort of, I think we are trying to sort of say our role, we are definitely a YouTube channel to promote our retail operation. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's slightly different to an influencer. And so we've kind of tried. But I have to say, in the last few months, I've got to know a few more of you, and you're all thoroughly nice chaps. And Rob Chapman, when I spoke, I said Andy was coming in. He said, you know what? He's the nicest one of them all. So there you are. High praise indeed.
Thank you, Rob.
So
the check's in the post. Yeah. Well, love all round, I guess.
Yes, indeed.
And thank you, Pete, for being in there and pressing buttons for us and generally making me feel like a good person today. Yeah, there's buttons you can click and stuff, and there's Andertons links in there. I will mention that I am in the Andertons affiliate program, and I will put links there because why not? But I think we've covered everything. If you're a parent, have no fear. Make sure buy two, and then have another child, and then have two guitar players in the family.
Bass. See, do East Coast basses.
You do basses as well.
Yeah.
Well, there you are.
But not drum kits. Maybe that's the next thing we need to do. East Coast drum kits. Maybe. I don't know.
Thanks for watching. Bye bye.